What's up, y'all? Welcome to Connecting the Dots podcast. We have a special guest today. And as usual, our podcast is brought to you by So Mississippi Candles. Make sure you check them out. They smell wonderful. Also, if you would like to sponsor our show, reach out to us at connectingthedotsatl@gmail.com. Today, I am very, very, very excited because one of my favorite people that's running in Atlanta, Alfred Shivvy Brooks, everybody. He is running for Atlanta City Council, Post 1. It's citywide. You do not have to live in a specific district. I have seen Shivvy personally on the ground doing his activism. I've participated in marches with him, so I know that he is the real deal. Please check out his website, brooks4atl.com, and donate, help, contribute. This is what it's going to take for us to get things done. I'm going to let him talk in a minute, but I just got to testify for a minute. First of all, he's a true head. Okay, so you know he won me over right away when I saw at a protest. He had a jacket full of hip hop memorabilia. So he's just one of the people that's for the people. And like I always say, when we talk about two candidates and about candidates, look at who they are and what they have done before they announced they were running, and that is who they are. And I am a witness. This man is really about the people. If you go to the website, he's the son of a Morehouse man and a Guyanese immigrant mother. He was born in New Jersey, and that may be another reason why I like this guy, because I too was born in New Jersey. He was raised in Atlanta. He was a member of the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel at Morehouse College and became a social justice advocate at a young age. For marching in the 1992 historic Rodney King protest, which was a pivotal time for, if you're Gen X or an older millennial, yep, you will remember all that was going on during that time. That was a pivotal time. So he was also featured in the New York Times today. He led the George Floyd rally in Atlanta. I think that's where I was, but we're going to talk to him now, and I'm going to be quiet. Welcome, Shivvy. Thank you for everything that you have done and will do. Thank you. Tell us about how the campaign is going and why you are running.
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to just share space with y'all. To talk about, what I'm pushing for here in the city of Atlanta, but even just to have the opportunity to amplify young voices that are seeking leadership and doing it for the right reasons. I'm a school teacher by day, and I know how important and critical it is for young people to see folks that they can relate to, people that they can touch. Actually putting themselves in position to get good policy that make better outcomes for our community. I'm running on a platform called CARES, which is an acronym that stands for Connected, Affordable, Responsive Economic Development and Safety. Right now, as my students, had to go home in the past year because of the pandemic, we realized that there is a horrible disconnection between the ability to access the internet for young people and families, which disproportionately affects Black communities.
Yeah.
And not having access to the internet is critical. I mean, you couldn't get access to a COVID vaccine if you wanted one. You can't pay bills. You can't do classes. You can't be connected to information. You also can't access the ability to tap in on e-commerce, which as an entrepreneur, this was a thing that changed my life over the pandemic, and my ability to sell merch or be an influencer or do things like that. But also, we have to talk about the affordability of Atlanta. Right now, Atlanta was ranked the worst city to live in if you have a minimum wage income. Atlanta also has the worst wealth disparity gap between Black and white community in a city that's about 53% Black at this point, right? And so when you start talking about lack of affordability, that answers a lot of questions as to why in Atlanta specifically we are realizing some of the types of crimes that we're experiencing right now.
So crime is a big talking point. We hear people talking about the crime is rising. I don't like the way it's being presented, because I think that the types of crimes that we're seeing, especially in our community, are gun crimes. And that's not really necessarily a city issue. It's more like a federal issue.
Yeah.
So what do you think we can do in Atlanta specifically to address crime?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's twofold, right? So my big issue with how people are addressing crime right now is that they're only talking about how to react to crime. They're not talking about how to respond to crime, right? So which means we have to be more forward thinking and deal with what is happening right now. Yes, we want women in Atlanta to feel safe going to the gas station at night. Everyone should feel safe walking in their neighborhoods no matter what time of day it is, right? Everyone wants to feel safe. But also we have to deal with what are some of the causes of some of these things, right? We talk about car break-ins. 60% of the car break-ins and car thefts, people are leaving their cars unlocked and leaving keys in the car.
Yeah, I'm seeing that a lot.
There are some common sense things that we can be doing on our end to not create more opportunity for some of these crimes to happen. Also, we have to coach our people on how to have better conflict resolution. Look, I'm a high school teacher. I teach high school seniors.
Wow.
Right? And I teach in Riverdale, which is the South Metro Atlanta area. Is one of the poorest areas of Metro Atlanta.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I see when kids engage in fights or in fisticuffs with each other is because they don't know how to resolve conflict. Culturally, we don't normalize how to navigate tough issues or disagreements with each other that can be resolved in a way that doesn't become physical. And so what do you think happens is these young people become adults and they don't have those skill sets and those tools. Right? And now we have ease of access to firearms and these type of things, which, as you said, that's a federal issue. So unfortunately, at the city level, it's something difficult to deal with. And the fact that we are in the South, which is a Second Amendment, very, 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 very friendly area. And listen, I'm pro-gun rights.
Yeah.
All right? I'm pro-gun rights. I own firearms myself. I'm a licensed to carry individual in the state of Georgia. And I believe that everyone should enjoy the right to protect their family. But if we don't have conflict resolution, if we don't have proper training on how to handle firearms, if we don't have common sense gun laws, then we're going to continue to have a lot of these issues. And also we have to, at a city level, start to mandate people properly storing their firearms, because a lot of the firearm crimes that are happening with stolen firearms.
And that's another reason why their people are breaking into cars, because they know that when you go to a venue, a lot of these venues don't allow you to bring your gun inside.
Yep.
So you know they're going to have to leave it in the car, and so people break in the car looking for guns.
But then we also got to be careful, because the caveat of kind of that narrative too is, well, then everybody should be able to bring their gun inside of everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. And do we want that?
Yeah.
Right? So for every good intention we have, we also have to be realistic about what could be the negative consequence of that as well. So now you're talking about firearms in places where alcohol is being consumed and those type of things, and your inhibitions, or you being in your right mind within dealing with the conflict with people who have low conflict resolution skills. What is the outcome of that?
And yeah, that's one of the biggest reasons, like when I seen that you were running, I was so happy to see that, because I feel like in our society, we formed a reactionary society. We don't think about things thoroughly all the time.
Right.
When stuff gets tough, we want to just react. And a lot of your platforms are not reactionary. Let's get in front of this problem before it becomes a bigger issue. And I feel like if we think like that, overall, we save ourselves a lot of issues that we face every day, from education to crime to so many other things.
Yeah.
So how did you make that such a big part of your platform to not only solve what's going on now, but to look ahead and to try to see what's coming, so you can start working on those things?
I mean, it's just like, for me, I think about this, man. Too often people just want to put Band-Aids on everything. They don't want real cures. Right. They don't want real solutions. It's easy to just satisfy people and placate people within the moment and say, oh, crime's high, let's just get more cops.
That's what I hear.
Right?
That's what I'm hearing.
But you know what's funny? So in the city of Atlanta, they say we're short 200 to 400 police officers, right? But Atlanta Public Schools is short 350 teachers, right? How many people are talking about the teacher shortage in Atlanta?
Right.
So here goes what happens from that. you have a teacher shortage, right? So now you got larger classroom sizes. So now you have less individual attention to students who need it the most now than they ever needed it before, which means our dropout rate is going to increase, which means you have less people who can enjoy prosperity in the city or afford the city, which means what? You got more crime down the line to come. But see, we're not thinking about the root causes of these issues, because guess what? It's not sexy to say, let's hire more teachers. It's not sexy to say, let's solve crime 5 years from now by dealing with this issue today. Right. But they've been ignoring these issues, and that's why I say it's a both and type of thing.
Yeah, I think when I hear that and you say that there's a shortage of teachers, and I see politicians not prioritizing education, it makes me believe that they are trying deliberately to create a class of people that has to take low-paying jobs and will therefore we're back in the same circle. Then you're going to have a shortage of low-income housing, and it's just going to be a roundabout thing. So I agree. I think that the issue of education needs to be prioritized, and since you're a teacher, that's going to be good. I wanted to get some of the things out of the way to tell you guys so that you can get ahead of this thing. The 2021 City of Atlanta Municipal Central Election will be held Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021 at all the regular precincts and polling places within the city of Atlanta. You know the trouble we have in Atlanta when it's time to vote. Get this on your calendar. Do what you have to do. You know now, November 2nd, if you need to use one of your days, if you think it's going to take a long time, if you need to pack a lunchbox, if you need to bring some water, we don't know. But just get it in your mind that this is what's going to happen. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m., so you have all day. At the time, registered voters within the city of Atlanta who have registered by October 4th, another day to remember, make sure that you're registered to vote by October 4th.
And also, I would say check your registration status. Yeah.
Yes.
Because the state of Georgia is notorious for being intentional about purging, especially black voters, from the voter logs, right? We got to make sure our people know their status, because you might think you're registered, you might think you're good, but they may have erased you from the rolls for whatever reason that they saw fit. And many times it's proving to not be legitimate, the reasons why they're doing this. So we got to be careful.
Or even if you moved or anything like that, there's a lot of redistricting going on.
Correct.
Just check your status. In Atlanta, we're going to have to fill the office of mayor because Ms. Keisha's not running again. City council president, city council members, 15. Board of Education members, 9. And to retain municipal court judges, 10. Explain to people what your position will be and why everyone in Atlanta can vote for you. What does the position entail? It's not a district thing. Everyone in Atlanta can vote for you.
Yes. So Atlanta City Council has 15 councilors, right, and a president, right, who only votes in the event of a tiebreak. So you have 3 post seats, right? And these post seats are representative of, for example, for post 1, I have to live in districts 1. You have to live in districts 1, 2, 3, or 4, right? But you are voted on by everyone in the city. So if they vote for the mayor, then you vote in my election. So I have purview over issues throughout the entire city, which means you're representative of people from Bankhead all the way over to Moreland Avenue, all the way up to Buckhead and down to the South Side, right? So we're representing everyone in the city, and it gives you a really good opportunity to be a voice of collective interest in those type of things in the city. So, I say to anyone, if you live within Atlanta City proper, anywhere in Atlanta City proper, you can vote for me in this upcoming election.
Explain to people who may not know what city council does.
Yeah. So city council is over all of your ordinances and things locally that happen. I think a lot of times people look at like the presidential races, right?
Yes.
And they think like that's the
Yes.
one that matters. But
Yes.
when you leave your driveway and you got to deal with popping the tire because your roads are raggedy, that's your city council people taking care of that. When you want more green spaces or parks or places to take your kids in the city, that's the city that takes care of that. Your city council that takes care of that. When you want to make sure that you don't go to jail because you have less than an ounce of marijuana in your car, that's a city ordinance. So when we talk about the things that we feel, like the government we feel that
Right.
impacts us, that's your city council. This, in my opinion, is the most important facet of government that we need to be paying attention to. And it also helps to give us access as black people to be able to enjoy enterprising, to be able to buy property, to have grant help, to get businesses off of the ground, those type of things. So the more engaged we are, the more upper mobility, collective mobility we get to have as a people. But the more disengaged we are, the less likely we are to have help in that type of assistance. They say if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So we got to make sure that we are at the table. And the truth is that our city council in Atlanta is not progressive. It's not.
Really?
It is not.
You would think that it is, because we have like a trap house museum, and we have like, you know, Bobby Brown Expressway, and you know, everyone has this image of Atlanta like we are this progressive black mecca, and everything that's done and all the laws that are passed are to benefit black people, but that is not always the case.
That is not always the case. I mean, even right now, if you look at like the Atlanta City Detention Center closure, which was promised, right?
Yeah.
All of these people are flip-flopping on that issue. You know, if Atlanta's progressive, then we want to end mass incarceration in the city.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
So it's those type of issues. If Atlanta is progressive, then we need to be holding firm to a signature bond system within Atlanta, where we're not, basically doing a pay or stay type policies in this city. So we got to be we got to stop looking at the performative stuff.
There are a lot of performative things that go on in politics in Atlanta, and I really want people to look beyond that, because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. I'm gonna leave it like that.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Can you? Sorry.
Yeah.
You said that everyone isn't tapped in. However, you're tapped in. You're a part of the community. How difficult has your journey been to get into this space as a person that is so in touch with the community, as opposed to being necessarily in politics?
Wow, that's a great question. For me, look, I teach high school economics, government, and personal finance, right? So I teach young people about government. I went to the Andrew Young School of Public Policy at Georgia State University, graduating the top 10% of my class. Being involved in local politics and government is something that I've been doing since the age of 12 when I was canvassing for candidates. It's something that has always been a part of just who I was as a person. So it wasn't like I got an epiphany one day that this is what I need to tap into. But the reality is that being in the community and being on the front lines of our social justice movement contemporarily, I got tired of beating on the door from the outside. You know, my father always used to tell me the best way to beat a bull is to ride his back, not in front of his horns. So we have to be on the inside as well. I can't continue to plead with counselors like the one whom I'm running against to say, could you please make sure that you vote for some police reform in the city of Atlanta? Could you make sure that we have an ordinance that says a police officer can't shoot a person in the back or put a person in a chokehold, and that be legally defendable within the city of Atlanta? And these people go in and they vote against these policies. They vote against these reforms. They don't support us, right? So now I'm at a place where we don't have a choice anymore, because what it comes down to is my 15-year-old son is not viewed as a baby in the eyes of society anymore, right? There's an adultification of our young people. Those young people that I teach who are graduating and now are, out in the streets or in the world, they can be criminalized very easily by how society looks at them. And so if people are not willing to put policies in that, number one, helps them have economic mobility, number two, make sure it doesn't criminalize their blackness, and number three, make sure it doesn't criminalize their lack of access to resources, their poverty, right? Then we have to do something about it. So we always say, I go to the voting booth and I feel like I got to vote between the lesser of two evils. But that doesn't always have to be true.
No.
We could actually have good people who have good policies who are willing to do the right thing for us running, right?
Yes.
Like, we have that opportunity. And I would say I'm one of those opportunities. And I think there's a myriad of other young people and some who are not so young who are really trying to do the right thing by the city. But we got to be tapped in to support these folks. If y'all looked at how many people vote in a municipal race versus how many vote in a presidential race, it's sad.
Let's look it up.
A huge drop off. And matter of fact, the drop off not only happens there, but it happens when people get in the booth. So there's a 10% drop off from, like, your ballot. You got the mayor, city council president, then it's going to be post 1, 2, 3, and then it's going to be your local district council person, right? There's a 10% drop off from the mayor to the council president, from the council president to the post 1. Like, there's a 10% off, 10% off, 10% off. People don't even finish voting on one ballot.
And we talked about that a little bit before the show, and especially you're a teacher. It's like not turning an unfinished test. Like you can't, you can't expect to get a 100 on the test and you didn't even finish. And, like, we do that so often in politics. And that's why I'm so glad that you came on the show today, because it's called Connecting the Dots, and we want to connect the dots for people to let them know, because I also feel in our community, sometimes there's a shame for education. Like, if we don't know things, we're scared to ask.
Yes.
And the answer is literally sitting right beside you, like, Shivvy, like, what's the city council?
Right.
Shivvy, like, you're running, like, what are you going to do? Like, it's not hard to find education if you want it.
Right.
Yeah. So we have to find a way to get people to realize, like, we're in literally the information age. It's almost information overload. Whatever you want to find, you can find. So, and as an educator, I'm so glad to see educators start to run for positions, because I'm tired of. I'm not even an educator, but I grew up around educators. Like, my mom's best friend was a teacher. Yeah. I knew how to read and write before I started school, just because I was around education so much. Yeah. So how do you think we get to people to let them know how important, like, you literally can just pull up on the city council meeting. Like, what I'm saying? Yeah. You don't need no ticket. You don't need no special, how do we relay these messages to people to let them know that, like, you really are in charge. Like, the political game is yours.
All power is in the people.
Yeah. I think we got to start with having politicians that don't see themselves as too good to be among the people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's a start. Right? Yeah. Like 2 weeks ago, on the lawn of City Hall, right, we had the newly formed Atlanta Homeless Union create an encampment, right on the grounds.
Yeah, I saw that.
So myself and a couple other activists from Atlanta were outside, in sharing community with them and advocating for access to housing, access to clean water, access to sanitation, and literally just for these people to be heard. But what happens is that these folks, and I call many of the city council members. I know them and they know me. Yeah. And I say, hey, would y'all come outside? Would y'all just come and meet with these folks? Would you come and talk to them? And they, folks are too good to just come outside or to talk with people. They'll say, well, they should come during public comment.
And that's tragic, man. That's tragic.
It is. But you know what? Elitism is so rampant.
Absolutely.
It's one of the isms that we don't talk about enough. And it's one of those things that we deal with here in Atlanta at a whole nother level. Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Where folks are too good to be among common people. And that's why we disengage from politics.
Yeah,
that's
we think we don't need it.
Correct, and we also we see it as being above us. There's a disconnection, and that's why we need people who have been among us to represent us, so that we always have the listening ear of those. That's why we continue to have this spread of wealth.
I think that one of the things that you are campaigning on is an issue that I'm having, which is affordability. I'm in the market to buy, and my options are so limited. Shivvy, what's going on?
Listen.
What am I gonna do?
Affordability in Atlanta is tragic right now. The average rent is $1,400. Okay, average rent is $1,400, and that's for a studio apartment. That's not even like a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom. I could put my family of 4 up in there.
Right.
No. So in order for that to be affordable for a person and it be 1/3 of your rent, right? According to HUD, that's what's considered
Yes.
affordable. You got to make $34 an hour. Now Atlanta is a majority service industry city, right? We got the hotels, we got the restaurants and those type of things. Your average server cannot afford that, right? Now one of the issues that we're having is that these developers, when they get the permits to create these new high rises, because we've been pushing for density, so now we're getting these high rises and all these new apartments and whatnot. 95% of it is luxury living. 95%. So when they get these affordable living permits, they're supposed to build, they're allowed to kind of build less parking and all these other kind of benefits for them. But they're supposed to build 15 to 20% affordable housing units within those buildings. They're not doing it. And we're not holding them accountable for it. And that is a big, big issue.
So it's an accountability issue. So I'm just trying to figure out why this is happening, because all I see all over Atlanta is those 3-story townhome, $400,000 to $500,000, and I'm like, so everyone can afford these? Because I don't understand why that is the go-to thing to build. So we're not holding the builders accountable for not having enough affordable units. That's what needs to happen. Okay.
They have to do that, but also, like, look, Atlanta is a city that has kind of been like spread out for a long time.
Yeah,
and
it's not
we've
all
had
Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean, you people. I live in Cobb. I know there's a small part of Atlanta that's in Cobb County, but I live in Smyrna. But we're still considered Atlanta Metro. But it's just it's hard to find affordable housing and still live within, I don't know, a little bit even outside of 285. It's just getting really, really hard to afford.
Well, we're going to have to get you inside the perimeter,
I'm
right?
looking inside the perimeter.
We're going to have to get you inside the perimeter. But again, look, I get it. I got my house in 2011. And this is during the market crash. This is when, house prices tanked. A lot of people lost a lot of wealth and what have you. And I would tell you, I could not afford to move out of my house and back into my house the next day because of how much prices have increased. I mean, we saw an 18% increase in the average price of a house in Atlanta in 1 year.
Right.
Now, the consequence of that a lot of people are not talking about is the impact that it's having on our seniors. See, if you're on a fixed income, even though the city may not have increased what they call the millage rate, it's the percentage of, a millage is like the notch on the outside of a coin. So it's like a fractional cent, right?
Yeah.
But when you calculate how much that is increased because of the home value, even though they didn't increase the rate, the fact that your house, appraises for more, costs you more. So we're out taxing our seniors out of their homes. We had an older woman, a senior who lived across the street from me, right? And she had been in the neighborhood for 30 plus years. I mean, her daughter was there. Her daughter lived in that home and whatnot. They ended up getting out taxed out of that home. And now when you look at the people coming in, and let me tell you, and she's the proverbial like Miss Johnson of the neighborhood, right? Like the woman, like if somebody came in your yard, she able to be like, them kids threw that ball in your yard today. and this and that happened in the neighborhood today, right? But that woman is gone now. She's not in the neighborhood anymore.
See, we need that in every neighborhood.
Correct. And she can't be there because she can't afford to maintain that home due to the increase of appraisal on that house. This is why Atlanta is suffering from so much displacement.
Yeah.
From the gentrification that's happening in Atlanta. So yeah, you want to build up those new developments. You want to pave those roads. You want to do all these nice things, but then you start putting in these different amenities and what it's doing to the value of the home while you're not creating systems to freeze appraisals for some of our seniors or different things like that will actually help to keep the fabric of these neighborhoods what they are, right? You end up having these neighborhoods turn into something you cannot recognize anymore. And so we had to be very intentional about that. But I think currently the powers that be really are about, we just want to get more wealth in the city. We just want to be able to enjoy more tax income, tax revenue for the city. They're more concerned with those things than they are concerned with the culture of the city and what makes the city what it always has been and made it so great in the first place.
I see that the answer that everyone I've seen that's running or has run or that's in local Atlanta politics, the answer to all of that they say is we need more police officers. on the street. I don't necessarily think that that's the case, but why do you think that it's like the police, they have the politicians wrapped around their finger. And I think that's why, like, Fannie Willis decided not to prosecute the Rayshard Brooks case and all that, because it's like everyone is in bed with the police officers. How do we get the people in Atlanta to understand that we need to use some of that money to have, like, maybe mental health counselors go to some of these places or something like that? I know that defund the police is scaring the hell out of everyone, so I don't know, do we need to change that? Do we need to reframe the way that we're trying to, redistribute money in the community?
Yeah, this is what I would say. Number one, there is a shortage of officers in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
And we have to deal with the reality of that.
Right.
The other side to it is that we have to improve the quality of the officers that serve this city, right? So the threshold of what it takes for them to pass, right, out of the academy needs to be increased. Number one, it's a 70 currently, right? That's a problem right there. Yeah, I don't want that, right? No, yeah. Number two, we have to invest in the education of these officers as well. See, that's a part that no one talks about, right? So, like, in Atlanta, mind you, like, a police officer and a educator, a teacher, are paid about the same wage. Very comparable, the amount of money that we're paid. But you know what the difference is? I can't go into a classroom without a college education.
Right.
But you can give someone a badge and a gun without any college education. So what I say is we need to be creating ordinances within the city of Atlanta that says within the next 5 years, you got to have at least 2 years of college education. And the reason why I say that is that police officers who have college education, at least 2 years, are 30% less likely to use their firearm in the field, 40% less likely to use force in the field.
Now,
really?
Specifically studying something or just college education, period?
College education.
Period. Okay.
Because with the college education comes sociology classes.
Right.
It comes different, means of being able to de-escalate, understand people, understand socioeconomic, characteristics and those type of things, right? There is a level of education that helps us to have better policing. So I would be all in for investing in some college education for our police force.
Yeah. I'd
rather have 3 cops who are A students than have 10 cops who are C students.
Yeah.
Right? So we need smarter police. The other part is that Atlanta Police Department pays less than our surrounding metro Atlanta areas.
Oh, so that's why you see the billboards like come work in Cobb or come work in DeKalb.
Look, I'm a teacher. I teach in Clayton County. Clayton County, for a very long time, paid less than some of the other metro areas. And guess who had the most shortage of educators? Clayton County. Right? And so when they improved their pay rate, then you started seeing more of an influx. But you're going to get the best teachers if you have the better pay. You're going to get the better police officers if you have better pay. So we got to pay our police officers better, right? We have to make sure that they are smarter. And then we also have to incentivize things for them to live in the city. I'm not for mandating that police live in the city because you'll actually see a decrease in your applicants. Again, sounds good, but if you put it in policy, then what's going to be the negative consequence? We always have to keep these things in mind, and we got to explain it to our people in a way that we understand it, right? Because we'll be like, we want them in our neighborhood. Okay, cool. Well, don't mandate it. Give some positive incentive to make it happen. Okay, you want to be a police officer, you want to work for the department, all right, this is what we do. We'll give you some vouchers to be able to live here so it's cheaper for you to live here. We'll build housing, but we got to expand that.
Yeah.
And then we do some of that here. We got to expand it. And the last thing I'll say is that we have to incentivize them with take-home cars. You want to live in the city of Atlanta, you want to work for the city of Atlanta Police Department, we'll give you a take-home car. Currently, they do not have take-home cars in the city of Atlanta. Now, this is the benefit of that. Well, now that police officer, when he get off work, is parking that car where? In the driveway or in that apartment complex.
Yeah.
And now you have that consistent presence, right? So those are the type of things that I think would work to help incentivize getting better policing in Atlanta. And then too, we got cops doing stuff they ain't got no business doing. Police are not mental health professionals, okay?
Right.
They just are not. And we have a service called PAD here in Atlanta, where you'll call them a non-emergency, right? Someone's having a mental health crisis, etc. You call them instead of calling the police. The problem is that they work during banker hours, so it's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. A mental health crisis does not say, you know what, it's not business hours, so let me wait to show myself right now, right? So we have to better fund that service so that police are not called to do things they should not do. And the last thing on that too is we have to improve how they respond to mental health crisis, right? When they are called. We have something in the state of Georgia that's called a certified peer specialist. They're trained by the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disability. And before I was a teacher, I worked with the Department of Behavioral Health for over 5 years. Now, these people are folks who have lived experience with mental illness themselves. And they're trained by the state on how to do crisis intervention training, right? Responses. Now, you team them up with police. So when there is a call, there is a person who does not have a badge, who does not have a gun, who has been where you are, who understands where you are, who can humanize the crisis that you're living right now and help you to get help, and not having a person with a badge, a gun, a high school education, and a lack of understanding as to what you're going through responding to that situation. So we got to be smarter about how we address these things. So I think that's, for me, how we get better public safety in Atlanta and less on the more policing in Atlanta.
I was going to ask, because Kim and I, again, being from up north, we had PAL where the police officers were in the community. Do you advocate for something like that as well? Like you said, that you require them to live in the community, but to participate in community activities and to interact with the community that they're serving.
Absolutely. And I think, honestly, there should be a requirement for a certain amount of community service that our police officers should be held to within the city as well. Like, relationships between our police are critical. You want that officer pulling someone over and knowing that's Mrs. Brooks' son.
He's tripping. He's always tripping, and I'm gonna just warn him, give him a ticket. Yeah.
And let's be honest. Like, look, we got to hold ourselves accountable in terms of the black community in the city as well. Right? We have this no snitching culture within our community, and a lot of it is about the distrust between us and the police. Now, we can't get mad that we have certain crimes and violence and things happening in our neighborhood, but at the same time not be cooperating and holding these people accountable for doing things that are harmful in our neighborhood at the same time.
I agree with you, and also the elitism. I think the culture is kind of responsible for that too, how we were talking about that. You're a hip hop guy.
Yeah.
So how influential do you think that hip hop culture is now to these kids that you're teaching?
Extremely influential, and I would say we get our cultural cues and our cultural norms through our music, through our social media, through our reality TV. We learn how to handle conflict resolution. You know what I'm saying? When you are tapped into these shows and you watching folks throwing drinks on each other and fighting in public places and those type of things, we have normalized that kind of behavior. So then when we see it on these blogs on Instagram and whatnot that are highlighting these things, and listen, y'all, we are to blame.
Absolutely.
We are to blame for what we have normalized, what we accept, what we say is cool.
Yes.
We make the culture.
Absolutely.
But we also have to be responsive to, if what we are tapping into is negative or causing harm, then we got to do something about it. We cannot just sit back and allow these things to flourish. If you can look on these blogs, the ones with the videos with the most views are the fight videos,
right?
Are those type of things, but then we get mad when it happens in real life at the same time.
I mean, dare I say, the image that people have of Atlanta because of these reality shows is what makes them come here. And I read somewhere that the majority, when you see these crimes and you see these videos, the majority of the people are people that came here from out of town.
Facts. And going where? To Buckhead.
Yeah.
Why? Because from the outside looking in, that's where you think.
Place. I never, personally, can I tell you guys something? I've never been to Lenox Mall in my life. Never. Not once. So I'm like, why is everyone go to Lenox Mall? I didn't get it. But one of my friends said it's in every song. The rappers talk about it. And that's where people think the place to go is. And I was like,
it's the elitism thing that we've been talking about.
Elitism,
it's like even like with clothes, because we know that these brands is off. They disrespecting us.
Yeah.
Even with women, like as a man, like it's exclusive. It's like we don't with the women. We didn't grow up in our community seeing Latina women and all these Spanish different type of women. So when we get one, we feel like, okay,
you have a prize.
Somebody in our community, they don't have this. Even with clothes, everybody wants exclusive things, and I think that's what this all boils down to. Like even with Linux and all these different things.
It's the law for materialism. It's the law for materialism. It says something about me because I'm in this environment. It says something about me because I drive this car, or I have these clothes, or these things, right? Like it is an illusionment. It's the subscribing to supremacy culture that we bought into that we continue to perpetuate.
Yeah.
It is why we've lost sight of the fact that we as black people are villagers by nature. Individualism is not a part of being in the village. It's not who we are. But we have kind of seen ourselves as so long as I have prosperity, so long as I do well, then it doesn't even matter. So what happens to y'all, and as long as I'm good, then I'm good. We got to realize that, like, if your hut is on fire, then it might catch my hut on fire.
But that's the whole thing, too, with voting.
Yep.
I mean, we all like to say, black people aren't a monolith. Okay, I get that, but shouldn't we be? I mean, in some instances, especially when it comes to things that are going to...
We all have different experiences, but we also have to understand that, listen, if I allow poverty to thrive within this city, then that will have a consequence on me.
Yes.
Right? Because that person who is starving will find a way to keep those lights on and keep food on the table. And if that means breaking into my car or breaking into my home or holding me at gunpoint or robbing me or stealing or killing or whatever it is that they feel they got to do to survive, they're going to do it.
Yes.
They're going to do it.
Yes.
Which is why we have to make sure that we are paying attention to the root causes of poverty, which is lack of affordability, which is poor education, which is not having people who serve this community, not live in this community, able to humanize the people that they serve and giving them the highest level of service. Like, we have to be intentional about what we're doing and what we're not doing and what the consequences of those things are.
Yeah. I will say this. If you want to get a look at what Atlanta really is from all angles, don't go to Buckhead. I'm going to tell you where to go. Edgewood Avenue. You will see everything.
Yep.
You will see the homelessness problem. You will see the $1 million homes that are next door to,
everything is right in the middle.
Everything is right there.
That's so true.
You'll see Martin Luther King.
That's so true.
All that.
Edgewood Avenue.
That is the heart of Atlanta in a real way.
For a black person, it represents the black, black Atlanta.
But Old Fourth Ward looking real different right now too. Right. It's gentrifying and changing, and a lot of displacement happening.
Yeah, you'll see the gentrification on Edgewood too. You'll see the hip hop scene. Everything you want to see about Atlanta. Don't go to Buckhead. Go to Edgewood Avenue. You'll see it all.
Like we were saying, are they coming here to look for the actual Atlanta, or are they coming to experience the elitism?
They came to look at what they saw on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta.
Exactly.
They think that when you walk out of your house, when you live in Atlanta, you're on an episode of the Wives or the hip hop show.
It's
That's
so
what
true.
they think.
I think that's everywhere. I don't think this is the elitism thing. Is just a black.
Oh
problem.
no.
I think
it's cultural.
honestly more.
Yeah.
I think it's more of an American thing.
Oh,
like,
yeah, absolutely.
what we done grew up
Correct.
in.
Correct.
But, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's everywhere. When you go to LA, it's a certain vibe you're looking for. When you go to New York, it's a certain vibe you're looking for. So I just think that's just the. I mean, you.
But you know what's crazy? We the biggest vibe in the country.
Yeah, Atlanta influences
You know what I'm saying?
everything.
Atlanta
Yeah.
influences everything. Shout out to the brand.
Yeah,
right?
shout out to the brand. I had that shirt on an airplane last weekend. Everyone's like, "Oh, I like your shirt." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a whole brand. You should check them out." And I'm like, "Can I get some promo money or something, y'all?"
Look, the daughter of the founder of Atlanta Influences Everything is one of my former students.
Oh wow!
And and you see like how that brand has grown.
Yeah.
And like that is the beauty of what Atlanta is.
I love it.
I love it. I love to see it.
So one more thing before we go: homelessness. I know that you've been very active in that fight. I've seen in some cities where they're even putting like You know those pods that you move your furniture in? They're building homes for homeless people. They're taking abandoned hotel. Like, they're coming up with all these things. We have a huge homelessness problem here.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to come of that? Or what is some of the things you think will be a solution for that?
You know, I tell you, I have every intention on being victorious in this race.
Yes.
And I'm running my heart out for it. But if I only were to win and serve one term, ending mass homelessness in Atlanta is one of the things that I have priority on with my platform.
Yeah.
We have over 3,200 unsheltered people in the city of Atlanta. But at the same time, the city of Atlanta has over 900 acres of undeveloped land. We literally could use that land spread throughout this city. We could build tiny home villages, right? Using those pods that you're talking about. Or creating 12x8 units that would be electrified, air conditioned, that have community caseworkers, that give people access to mental health care, physical health care, substance abuse counseling, job training, job tooling, job readiness, right? And get these people back on their feet. And we can do that with less than $15 to $20 million. And for a city budget, that's a drop in the bucket, because we give millions and millions of dollars to other organizations to do it. But I say to you this, if these organizations are not working to fix these problems so that they make themselves not needed anymore, then are they trying to profit off of these issues and actually solve the issue, or are they trying to stay in business? Because I'm seeing amounts of money that don't have to be continued to be spent on these organizations and these different things, and they're not actually giving us what we need.
Yeah.
It's time to end mass homelessness in the city of Atlanta. We can't have people driving by in Lamborghinis passing by people in tents in the city and think that it's okay.
So sad. It's so sad.
I got a question to that then. So how does, because it's more regular people that's doing okay than it is like billionaires and stuff. So how can people donate so we can stop telling like Jeff Bezos and them what to do with their money? How can like a regular person, like where do they donate to?
Yeah.
To be able to support those different causes?
I mean, well, first thing I'll say is this, like,
donate to Shivy's campaign.
True, right.
I would, look, I definitely encourage people to donate and contribute to my campaign. The reality is that like running these campaigns is not cheap. Like reaching voters is not cheap. We talk to agencies about just sending a piece of mail, right, to a certain number of voters. And we talking like $20,000 for one piece of mail. Oh my God. Okay? So like people underestimate how much it takes to actually do this in the first place. Now, I'm a teacher. You're talking about half my annual salary basically to send one piece of mail, and to be effective in it, you got to send 3 to 5 pieces of mail. So y'all do the math. Not to mention the staff that we have to pay for. And I have about 4 or 5 paid staff on my team.
Wow.
All but one person are black women. So when people support my campaign, you're also supporting black women. So my thing is support people who are about creating the policies that are actually going to give us real change. We talk about systemic racism and systemic issues. Well, you have to have systematic solutions to be able to end them once and for all. And that's not going to happen by allowing those people who are tapped in with the rich folks who are pushing just their agendas to allow to be able to get the power. We have the power, but we also have to empower each other to be able to get the change. The other part is you got to be tapped in with the real. So there's the Atlanta homeless unit, right? So I donate money to them. I show up with them all the time. In fact, I just come back from doing a conference in Orlando Friday night. As soon as I come back, I'm outside on the street with them helping to feed folk. You know what I'm saying? At 9, 10 o'clock at night, right there on MLK. Like, these people are like, we're literally putting our funds, our money out there to make sure folks got a hot meal at night. Or tents to sleep in so they're not in the rain and that type of thing. But look, Atlanta has a culture of hiding our issues.
Yeah.
That's why we have dividers underneath the tunnel on Hill Street so people can't sleep there. That's why we have boulders underneath the bridges and overpasses on the highway, because we don't want people to see homelessness in Atlanta. It's why the Atlanta City Detention Center was built in the first place.
Yeah.
They built that during the Olympics so that they could hide the homeless population. That's why it exists in the first place. So we have to stop hiding our issues and start dealing with them once and for all. And that's not going to happen by us doing the same thing we've done for the last 24 years.
Yeah. All I have to say is, listen, guys, I know what's about to happen. The people that are starting to run are going to start pushing crime, because a lot of people use fear tactics in their campaign. But as you can see, rewatch this interview, listen to what Shivvy has to say, and address the real issues, and then you won't have to really worry about that. And the crime rate is not as high as they're going to make it seem. Don't let them scare you. Let's deal with the real issues. Please donate to Shivvy's campaign. Like I said earlier on, the website is brooksforatl.com. Also, if you don't have money, if you have time, can you also come and...
Y'all can help. Look, we do phone banks 3 times a day.
Really?
Every day, right? We're knocking doors. No one's outworking me in the campaign field. I'm going to tell you that now. I don't care if they running for mayor or whoever. Ain't nobody outside like I'm outside.
Yeah.
Because where some may have funding to just pay their way to access voters, we're using real people power to knock on doors and meet real people, to pick up the phone and call real people, to text real people, to send information and literature to real people.
And your phone number is right here on the website.
Correct. So we got a phone number that you guys can text me directly. It's our community text app. And it's not just to get mass text blasts from us. I literally get those text messages to my phone and I can respond to you individually. And that's the type of connectivity that I think people need to have with elected officials. It shouldn't be, you just need to, hit my email or what have you, and
I'll
then we'll
get to it when
you.
my people will get back to you.
Correct. No, you need to be able to contact people in real time to respond to things. So this is key, I think, in how we need to change the culture of what it looks like to govern in a city like this.
Yes. I am really excited, y'all. And follow Shivvy on social media. Can you tell people where they can follow you? And we can also see your son, who is like
Christian,
the most charismatic kid on the internet. I'm like, is he gonna take over the campaign?
Man, listen, that's a spokesman. That's my spokesman.
It is so fun. It just brings your heart joy. During quarantine, that was one of my happy places, to just watch you guys interact with each other on social media. Little kids, they just lighten up your world. They don't lighten them up when they're little, when you're the parent sometimes. I understand that. But as an empty nester, before I have any grandkids, I like to watch little kids and he is so cute.
Yes.
Tell everyone where they can follow you. If you guys have any more questions or anything you want to bring up, now's your time. Anybody? No? Tell everyone where, and then whatever you have to say, and we'll...
you guys can follow me at Call Me Shivvy is my personal Instagram, CALLMESHIV as in victory Y. And of course, you guys can go to our campaign website, which is brooksforatl.com, brooksforatl.com, and stay connected with us there. I just, again, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to just talk with y'all and share about what I'm all about. But I think it's time that we have in Atlanta that really represents the best interest of the people.
Yes.
For now and for the future.
Yes.
I think it's time that we have in Atlanta that is truly affordable, cares about affordability, make sure that we're not outpricing people who made Atlanta great, not outpricing people who serve this city, and not outpricing people who love the city and want to live here.
Yeah.
It's time for us to make sure that we address the safety issue in Atlanta, but we do it in a way that does not criminalize what it is to be black or criminalize what it is to be poor. I think it's time for us to make sure that we have a city that's progressive. I think it's time for us to make sure that we erase and fix the mistakes that we've made in this city that's made it a proponent of having more mass incarceration, for having the worst wealth disparity gap, for not having the best education systems that we need to have because we're not giving the full wraparound services. Look, I can, as a teacher, teach the best lesson that I could possibly teach. But if my kids don't have a safe place to sleep, if they don't have food on the table, it doesn't matter how good my lesson is, they're never going to be able to realize their promise. So we have to make sure that we're taking care of all of the needs of all of our people and that we see each other as having to rise together. Otherwise, we're going to fall together.
I could sit here and talk to you all day. It's time to make Atlanta the progressive city that everybody thinks it is, y'all. I know everyone made a thing. You know, we turned Georgia blue federally, but locally, Georgia is very red. So let's get involved in our local elections, y'all, starting with city council. Like I said, go to brooksforatl.com, get involved. Even if it's not monetary, make sure you spend some time, retweet, repost. Let's all get involved with this so that we can make Atlanta the place that everybody thinks it is.
Yep.
All right, y'all. So we're going to wrap it up. Make sure you follow us, CTD_ATL on Instagram. Make sure you follow Innovative Black Station. And also check out our YouTube channel, Innovative Black Station. And make sure you watch our episodes past and future on innovativeblackstation.com. We will see you next week. Peace.